Hey everyone, just going to dive into XRP once again. Thank you for support. We got a CoinsKid crew. So unfortunately, the bearish alternative that I posted way back in August for the CoinsKid crew in the Discord, and I'm showing you in videos when I got back off holiday, is playing out under our noses, isn't it? It really is unfortunate, but it is what it is. We have to respect the structure and data in the charts. But one thing I was looking at is this retracement coming in. If it could hold the 190 low, I was looking at a final fifth to come up with that alt season. But I think what's happened in this cycle, exactly the same things happened in the previous cycle. It's hoodwinks everybody, including myself again, where this move up has actually been a B-wave bull trap. And what we saw is an impulsive wave top late last year, got the trigger point in the retail top that told us, okay, macro correction imminent, and boom, we've gone through that macro correction ever since. So typically Bitcoin, it does tend to correct for around about a year in a bear market. So I actually think XRP and Bitcoin have been in a big macro correction bear market, where right now we're in a C wave of that bear market. And what we're looking at across the board is acceleration to the downside on the weekly RSI, where we enter oversold conditions, which has always been opportunity for the likes of XRP and Bitcoin. So I'll look at the levels with you, but unfortunately, you know, this is playing out. This would be my bearish alternative, losing the green low at 190 before a final fifth wave up of support would give way to a potential expanded flat ABC correction for XRP to a minimal $1.40, 1.618. So currently that's where my bids are, down there at 140 to finish this correction off in a C wave. So it is unfortunate. We never got that final fifth wave, but I do think this move up in the summer has been a bull trap, basically. I'm going to show you all the confluence of that, because the confluence lies obviously in the other altcoins that came up and made lower highs, which is exactly what XRP did in that November high, in the Q4 high right there. It made this lower high in the previous cycle and then rolled into the C wave. So this C wave, unfortunately, C waves are really nasty. Okay, they can go on for a while. You know, you look for 5 waves in them. They can be bigger than smaller or whatever. But you know what I'm looking at right now is oversold conditions on the weekly time frame. That is usually your optimal entry point in a C wave for XRP, and I'll go through this with you. So for me, I'm just looking at it as opportunity, because I do think down the line we will see another emergence of another impulse here for Bitcoin and obviously XRP as well. But what goes up must come down. Unfortunately, we did come up in 5 for XRP late last year, and equally Bitcoin as well, and the retail top triggered that warning shot. So the retail top was the only thing, and obviously the 5 waves up in Bitcoin, that actually called the top. Let's take a look at that right now, okay? So the dumb money indicator, formerly the retail top, has called it, hasn't it? If you take a look at this point here, this is where this was telling us, and this is something I relayed to you late last year. If you're buying crypto here, you're doing it wrong. We've got a small window of opportunity for upside, and then we have some kind of correction. And that correction has been a lot longer than I actually anticipated, to be honest with you, because I did think, and I hold my hands up, I did think it would be like a previous cycle, where we came out twice. If we move to the left, in 2021, we came out here in the spring, I think it was, came down, came back into Q4, where we saw a massive move up in many altcoins. But I think it's done it again. But in this cycle, retail really has not been in this market. It's been more of an institutional driven market, not necessarily a retail market. And this is why at this point, when we've peaked up here, we saw retail show up for a quick minute and then boom, they've been dumped on. But this here, this is a 3-wave move to the upside for Bitcoin. And at that point where people are looking at that some kind of, you know, top or macro top for Bitcoin, you can clearly see that retail wasn't here again. So I actually think that this is just all part of a correction that Bitcoin's been in since late last year, where it's come up in 5 waves. And like I've taught you, when you see 5 waves to the upside, expect some kind of correction. When you see 5 waves to the downside, expect some kind of, you know, pullback or correction or whatever. It's the 5 waves of death. It's the 5-wave counter. It's something we live by on this channel. So at this point, I was macro bearish on Bitcoin, but I hold my hands up. I did think we bottomed here and we would come out into Q4, but it's done exactly what it's done before. And I'll go through this with you, where in this move to the upside, it's been a bull trap. You can clearly see that retail's not been here. And because if it was some kind of euphoric blow off top where retail showing up, where was retail? It's not here. It was here late last year. And typically from this point, what does retail do? They don't buy Bitcoin, they buy altcoins. They bought the tippy top of that move up for altcoins. And ever since then, altcoins came down in the A, made the lower high B, and right now they're dropping in the C. And people are going to give up right when we could be nearing the bottom of capitulation in the C wave for altcoins. So I actually think they've been in some kind of macro correction since late last year, given the data that I'm looking at. One of the key clues as well is the Tether dominance. Let me show you that right now. So the Tether dominance is holding all the truth, in my opinion. I think the truth is in this chart, and this is a chart we have to pay attention to. So one thing that would be incredibly bearish for crypto, I think, is if we start to take out this range here, if we start to see the 1 fib at 9.48%, hold on, okay, because I think we could get as high as 16.8% in this particular chart, which is where I'll be buying crypto again, and that could absolutely happen. So this is where we've got to be careful, because at the minute I do think we're in some kind of C wave. Okay, so my primary at the moment, and obviously it will change if we start to break the 9.48% fib XRP Bitcoin is in a world of trouble, in my opinion, and we're looking at, you know, buy zone in crypto once this hits the 1.618 at roughly 16.88%. So that's the ultra bear scenario. If we get up to that zone just there, you know, that's the ultra bear scenario, which obviously is a scenario. Okay, I can't take it off the table. That is the ultra bear scenario. Let me make that capital for you. Okay, that would be my ultra bear case to buy crypto at that particular point, at 1.618. Now, why am I looking at 1.618? The 1.618 is absolute boss. For example, off this move here, when you came up, okay, and you came up, where did you come into? 1.618. This was a buying opportunity. There's an inverse correlation to crypto. Look at that, June, go to the charts on XRP, lovely buying opportunity. Late 2022, what a buying opportunity, you know, as you're fully aware. And then from there, we've come down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves down. But if this thing right now breaks bull and really takes off and takes out that range, I think we could have a buying opportunity again in Bitcoin and XRP on the ultra bear scenario, which is 16.88%. Now, that currently is not my primary, to be honest with you. My primary is really simple. I think we've done exactly what we've done before. We've come down a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 setup. From this point last year, we've actually been in a whopping correction across the board in altcoins and even XRP. Even though XRP's made a higher high in the summer, basically, I think the truth is in this chart because it's doing exactly what it did before in this previous cycle. So this was the top of an impulse for XRP and Bitcoin. This was the top of an impulse for XRP and Bitcoin. And from there, ABC. Okay, so in this particular C wave, what I'm looking at is very similar to what I was looking at before. Okay, you got the ABC. From here, you come down in the B wave, which made a higher low. You come down this B wave in a 3-wave move, which has made a higher low. This is a 3-wave move as well. So it's made a higher low, just like this one. So this was a bull trap in crypto. And right now we've seen a bull trap in crypto, as you're fully aware. So basically, I think XRP and Bitcoin have done exactly what we've done before, but XRP at this time frame came down like this, okay, made the lower high and dropped, just like the vast majority of altcoins, the likes of VeChain, Cardano, so on and so forth. But XRP in this instance has done what Cardano did there and Ethereum did there. They've made higher highs, which is basically a bull trap. So the truth is in this chart that was a B wave higher low to the beginning of a macro correction. This has been a B wave higher low to the beginning of a macro correction that started late last year, okay, in both charts. So again, I've not got a crystal ball, I can't see into the future, but one of the things I was concerned with when I came back off holiday is that high that we saw on Bitcoin and obviously XRP as well, we hadn't seen this flush of this low. So like I said to you, we've got to be really careful here, because if it starts to break bull and takes out the resistance, it means that this was a B-wave bull trap for Bitcoin and XRP, and right now we're accelerating to the downside in some kind of C wave. So I actually think we've been in a bear market, crash and correction since late last year in Bitcoin, and we're nearing the completion of the correction, not necessarily beginning it, okay? So what we're looking for is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves in C, just like we've got here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves in C. But the ultra bear case is if this particular chart breaks bull and takes out that resistance at 9.446%, wow, we could be looking at a monster crash and correction here, down to, you know, levels I can't even begin to imagine for XRP, potentially losing the bear market lows of 10 cents. Absolutely possible, you know, where we're looking at 16.88% of Tether dominance in this particular market, which would be ultra bearish for Bitcoin. But again, it's not my primary. My primary is, and again, my primary can change, obviously that's your major resistance for ultra bear mode, but my primary is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves up into the 1.618. We're getting really overbought right now, so this is a third wave in my opinion. Look for a bearish divergence, buy an opportunity. So basically, if you take a look, this was a third wave which was coming up here. So just there, you got 1, 2, 3. So you was well into the correction at this particular point when this third wave entered overbought conditions on the weekly time frame. So this is why I think we're well into this correction right now, that this is actually a third wave coming up, because you're entering overbought conditions on the weekly RSI, as you've seen, you know, oversold conditions appear across the board in many cryptocurrencies. So I actually think the correction is coming to a completion, not necessarily beginning, and this is something I'm trying to stipulate and relay to you. I think we've been in a correction since late last year, and what we're in right now is a C wave. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves up into these legs of resistance just there that I relayed to the CoinsKid crew in the Discord. And at that point, if we see a bearish divergence and 5 waves up, wow, I'm taking maximum exposure to XRP again. But the ultra bear mode obviously sits in wait. If we do start to see this chart breaking above 9.446%, wow, you know, I'm looking to buy about the 16.88% in this chart. That's the truth of the market. I think ABC ABC. Correction began late last year. Correction began in April of 2021. And what we saw is basically XRP come up in this bull trap. So let's dive into XRP chart, see what we can see. Okay. So looking at XRP on a weekly time frame, I think we've been in this sort of expanded flat correction since breaking impulsively into late last year, early in the year, January. We've got this 3-wave move down, 3-wave move back up, and right now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves down. That is the scenario I'm looking at, and obviously it could run a lot nastier and deeper than this. But what I'm looking for is a Tether dominance to give us more clues. Right now we've got a 1, 2, 3 in the Tether dominance. If we pull back in a 4 and have a final 5th, wow, massive increased probability that the Tether dominance is topped, starts to roll over. There's your buying opportunity in XRP, there's your bottom. And then boom, we break impulsively in that 5th wave, in that beautiful move to the upside. So 2026 could be really fruitful, because at the end of the day, I think we've been in a correction for a year and we've not necessarily begun it just there. For XRP, but obviously the C waves can be really nasty. Now, one thing that is on the side here is alternation. So typically in a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 setup as an impulsive move, the wave 1 breaks out, 2 pulls back, and you have some kind of zigzag historically, and then you break in a 3, you have some kind of alternation where you have a flat correction or WXY or overlapping flag or zigzag or whatever. It's never usually the same. And this is, I think, what we've got right now. We've come down in the wave 2, we broke impulsively 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You've come down in a zigzag, which is basically a WXY, ABC, whatever. It's overlapping zigzaggy waves. So, you're making a series of lower highs into the same support, and then you dropped into capitulation. And what we've got here is basically from this point, 3 wave down, 3 wave up, and right now in some kind of C wave drop, which is basically an expanded flat correction where we've come up into the B wave, which is your bull trap. And obviously the confluence of that is the Tether dominance making that high low from this high here, basically, which is this low. So it's quite hard to understand. But if I drop the Tether dominance chart in right now, you can clearly see what I'm talking about. So drop that in, go to plus symbol and search for USDT.D. Okay, drop it in, you can clearly see. So this here, you see this bottom, this was XRP's top coming in. Then this is the bottom for XRP, which was basically a retracement top for Tether. Then this has come down, this has made a high low, but XRP's made a higher high. So this is the bull trap, 3-wave move up. So you retraced, you've lost this low, so you've invalidated this being a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 setup, and right now you're losing the low and you're coming down. So in theory, you should be looking for 5 waves to the downside. You've got some kind of 1 into a 2 into a break free for 5 waves down. So until we see 5 waves down in this C wave, unfortunately the bottom's not in for XRP. Okay, so I'll keep you updated as best I can, and obviously an inverse correlation is the fact that we're looking at some kind of 1, 2, 3 breakout 3, 4, 5 waves in the Tether dominance to increase the probability. Okay, you see 5 waves down in XRP, you see 5 waves up in Tether, you've got a beautiful buying opportunity, and we don't quite see it yet, so please stay tuned for that. I'll keep you updated as best I can. So at the minute, I think XRP's caught in a retracement to this low, basically that 0.38 cents. 0.388 I think it was, wasn't it, in July of 2024. So you've come up impulsively, and right now you're overlapping zigzaggy waves correctively to this low, retracing, find support, and then break bull again. So I'll try and find all the bid zones for you in time, but stay tuned to the Discord for the regular updates in real time. Okay, hope you understand the update. Stay off, stay tuned, take care, one back to an update in XLP. Bye bye.